Otherwise, yeah, I guess backup name, Don't Tap the Table. From the iconic second episode, which will never be aired.
Oh, I see what it is. The second one was iconic.
That deleted scene.
The first one.
No, Gabe. Damage is done.
Well, welcome to Don't Tap the Table /bandwidth.
Mm-hmm.
I think bandwidth / don't tap the table. Bandwidth's better.
Sorry. I'm
You
Gabriel.
should go for D triple T.
Is that my new nickname?
No, D triple T.
I'll take that. That's good. That's all right.
Alright, so you joined D triple T here with Gabriel.
And Daniel.
Oh, did you start recording?
Yeah, it's been recording for a little while.
Oh, fair play.
And Speedy Luke.
All right, yeah. I'm Luke. Hello.
Nothing gets past him.
No. He's like no, let's not.
All right, come on. This isn't about me.
You kind of wanted it to be about you a few minutes ago. Episode 1.
Yeah.
The first of many.
I seem to remember someone getting over upset with the word iconic.
Oh, look, it's not recorded, is it?
Hang on, let me see if the recording button is pressed. No, we're all good. We're good. One thing we didn't check sound test for were the chairs.
You're correct.
Yeah.
Suddenly.
My one doesn't really. Oh. Well, I just won't lean back. That's fine. I just got to lean in.
I'm proud of that.
It's Gabriel's favourite catchphrase, isn't it?
I can't prove anything.
Okay, so why don't you start us off, Gabriel?
Okay, well, this is a show, and you're welcome to it. But more importantly, this show tackles things like what happened last week.
It does, in detail.
Tackling the internet.
Tackling the big issues.
Well, yeah, one of these issues was that McDonald's actually delivered within felt like 10 minutes today.
That's not even enough time to get
Today?
to be a guild.
Well, sorry, yesterday. Getting my days mixed up. But, yeah.
To be fair, that actually was a really exciting highlight of the week. Usually it's like 2 hours, hour and a half, 10 minutes flat.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So a little bit of context for you. Uber Eats, name drop there, sponsor us please. But McDonald's who deliver food to Uber Eats usually take hours and sometimes just don't show up. So it's a very risky game to get your breakfast ordered in the mornings. And yesterday, it was almost a supernatural occurrence. I placed an order, 3 double sausage and egg McMuffins, 3 hash browns.
Class.
Never forget.
3 hash browns?
Yeah. Not all for me.
No.
He's lying.
If they were all for you, I would appreciate that.
Well, good thing the viewership can't actually
Big
see my
Mackie
waistline.
Big Mackie D's.
But yeah, I didn't even get to finish going through my emails, and I got the text saying that it was outside.
Yeah. Is this the highlight of your week?
This is the highlight of my week.
I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty amazing. If you could have taken a picture of the shock on my face the moment he was standing over my desk holding a McDonald's bag, you could frame that.
Well, that's an interesting insight into your week. I wasn't a part of this. I wish I'd been notified.
You're not in early enough to order, I'm afraid.
Yeah, some people have got things to do. You know?
Early bird gets the sausage McMuffin.
Is that how the phrase goes?
That's exactly how the phrase goes.
If you look back in your ye olde English phrase book.
Yeah, I didn't realise. I have to revisit that one. I wasn't aware. But okay, so you had an amazing McDonald's experience. Did you actually uprate them? Did you give them a Yelp review or?
Oh, that's a point. I need to rate the delivery.
So wait a minute. You're telling me a delivery guy busted his chops to get you a McDonald's in 10 minutes?
Yeah.
And you didn't even give him like a 5-star review?
It's en route.
He's probably like trying to really make something of himself, you know, trying to work his way up the delivery chain.
Look, Dan, I can't match his pace.
He's already done like 5 negative reviews, so at this point it's like it's too far gone. You can't go back. No matter how good they are, they'll always be bad.
Yeah, that's a rough situation, isn't it, when you're working on ratios. Okay, so anyway, moving on from your positive McDonald's experience.
Well, you know, another positive experience, especially if you're bilingual or, you know, speak more than 2 languages.
Mm-hmm.
I've read this week that Netflix is looking for some people to watch their shows. So you know how
pretty standard.
Yeah, they're really.
They've never done that before. That is just this week they've introduced that.
I feel like their business model has really finally taken off.
I've got some inside news for you guys. Netflix want people to watch their shows, and here's the clincher.
I bet Amazon are on the coattails of that.
No, they're upset they didn't think of it first.
Well, we haven't considered it of our listenership, really, have we? I mean,
We're upset we didn't think of it first.
Best ideas just fly on by. But this, no, they'll pay you to do it. It's a job. So it's quote unquote bilingual analyst.
mm-hmm.
The idea being that someone is paid to sit down, watch their TV shows, put in the tags and the descriptions and the little flavor text that comes up when you scroll through it. They say bilingual. It might be just because obviously they're expanding into lots of other countries.
Yeah.
Or it might be that they're announcing loads and loads and loads of anime shows for 2018.
How would that affect the anime shows?
So anime is
You're gonna have to.
We usually primarily do it in Japanese first, don't you? And then it's like just voiced over by English actors.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah. So it's, again, I might be a little bit wrong on this, but I think the idea is it's basically Japanese animated television, usually voice recorded in Japanese first, and then they'll either subtitle it, or they'll have a bunch of voice actors speak over the lines.
Sub or dub?
Dub's always better, sure.
Yeah.
Dubs, even if it's bad dubbing.
Well, I mean, if it's been working, anime's pretty popular, so...
Depends on how much you like reading as well.
That's true. But I feel like people who watch TV have made a conscious choice not to read.
You can get the best of both with subbed anime.
I use subtitles when the girls are asleep and stuff, so I can still listen to the show. But like, if I didn't have to take that into account, I wouldn't use them.
I find myself with subtitles on, as opposed to watching the content. I am primarily looking at that bottom half of the screen, like just reading it.
It's like Books Plus instead of a TV show.
The books. Kindle, get on it. Book Plus.
That's what libraries have been missing.
The inside scoop. So
Okay.
the idea being is that they're bringing lots and lots of anime shows. So a lot of people, such as Nick Valdez from comicbook.com.
Mm-hmm. I don't know who Nick Valdez is.
That's alright. I don't personally know him, but I thought I'd name drop him because I'm referencing his article.
Good name.
Comicbook.com sounds very, very generic to the point that it's not real. Do you not think?
Well, you can search that up in your local internet search engine and
Tackling the internet.
yes.
Do you reckon I could buy like a very similar sort of domain name on GoDaddy.com?
Who knows?
Comicbook2.com.
Amazon's also announcing they're leaning quite hard into it as well. So I'm wondering if either both companies are trying to really hit a Japanese viewership, or maybe Western audiences have become really into the anime genre of television.
Just on the implication of hiring a bilingual analyst, doesn't seem like its primary focus is JP. Just,
I suppose that's
that would
the
be
point.
my view. It would be like they want the translation there.
Yeah.
So it seems like their focus is to keep that style of Japanese recording or originally Japanese recording, and then move it into English so it has that same feel that's already been so popular.
No, I don't think they're asking to translate the shows. I think it's just so that they can watch the shows. So if they can only get rights to, say, a subtitled version of the show, and I think this is probably true of say stuff produced like Spanish dramas or maybe French films, as I guess they're moving out into non-English entertainment, then they most likely want to kind of hit that hard and have people who can read and write the text for it. So anyway, that's kind of something they're doing. But what got me interested in was I kind of looked up how many shows does Netflix make and kind of publish every day. The answer is I think something like 50 a day.
They publish 50.
They might do. Let me double check.
And all of them don't make it past the pilot. That's a
None
lot.
of them make it into camp.
They make loads. They make absolutely loads. I think to the point where they have so many new original shows coming out, so many just new shows that they're acquiring the rights for. It's almost impossible to kind of I don't know, it feels kind of intimidating, like you have to wade through a swamp of stuff to find what you want.
Did they ever make that goal of like pure original content, or like 80% or whatever it
What
was?
do you mean, like individuals sending in their scripts and stuff?
No, or Netflix had that goal, didn't they? They wanted to be 80% original content by like a certain year that I feel like was around now. Are they on track? Well, I mean, with 50 a day.
I don't think they're on track
Yeah.
for 80% original, but they do commission a lot of original stuff, including anime shows.
Just 50 a day.
Yeah.
I felt like I'm really worried now that I'm completely wrong on that one.
I mean, it seems like a lot, but I mean, I suppose there's a lot of scripts out there. But I mean, it depends when you say how many are they producing every day. I mean, is that finished product? Is that just...
How many gems do you reckon slip through the cracks there? 50 a day.
All right, let's have a look before, as I'm being quoted so much.
I did the classic 50 a day and didn't put in any context and got nothing common. Oh, first thing that comes up, 50 a day, Betfair. If the viewers want to get their bet on.
It's only because it's in your cookies.
Don't.
Lose some money on the ground. Actually, did we?
You don't know that.
Okay, so their idea is 700 original series, like TV series in this year.
This year.
Yeah. So
Okay, so it's like
not,
2 a day.
Not 50 a day. I'm completely wrong.
We're only off by a factor of
Some.
50, actually.
Well, glad that word's being thrown around a lot. But yeah, my point being that, can you have too many shows?
Yes.
Yeah, of course you can.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, Amazon might not be making as many shows. Two every day. Is it 2? Yeah.
I suppose it all depends on like saturation.
Is it the
so if you have someone, we've got Netflix at home, but we currently only use it for like Hey Dougie for the girls. So it's, and if we do get time, we try and maybe watch one episode of something.
Yeah.
So if you've got that many shows, obviously they're not all going to be stuff you like.
There's,
But you're going to find 1 or 2 that you enjoy,
Yeah.
and you can come back to it. But yeah, with that level of shows, like, how do you dedicate any time to seeing if they're any good?
I was about to say, there also feels like they're probably quite watered down.
Yeah.
Like you're splitting your resources heavily. Like if you're like, this is a script, this will smash, let's put this out there and really work on this, you could get something really good. But if you're doing like a crazy amount, then clearly you're just splitting everything. So something that could actually be quite good is probably getting, minimal attention when it deserves more.
And I suppose that also goes for their acting talent, like their acting. But obviously, they bring in some great actors and actresses, but they're not going to be able to star in all those shows. So they're going to really be like living off quite a reduced pool.
I guess it's not just quantity versus quality. Sometimes you can have that many, and they are good shows, but there's no way you're going to watch them all. And there's, as you say, there's a big chance of stuff being lost in the sea rather than slip through the cracks.
Yeah.
But Netflix is making loads of TV. Can you have too much TV?
What? When you say can you have too much, I mean
Too much available almost.
700 original series a year, I don't think I could do in a year.
well, they're obviously
Like-
they're obviously throwing throw as much as you can. Something will hopefully stick. I mean,
And it's not just the same show either.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of similarities there.
Yeah, hopefully, like
in
there are.
genres.
I think the idea would be, if you have a broad enough spectrum, everyone's satisfied.
I suppose they don't care as long as they've got someone paying for it. Like if their thinking might be like, okay, this show might not be for everyone, but we hit those 5 people with this one, we hit those 5 people with this one, and probably bigger numbers than that, but you know what I mean, like they split it out, whereas you have like Sky Atlantic tend to do that whole, let's do something really epic and just capture as many people and get like a popular one going on. They have like Boardwalk Empire and Game of Thrones on
They've got a different,
like
their model's completely different, so they can do that. Like if you have a subscriber service, you don't have to worry. Obviously, you want to create a great service that people are going to watch, but you don't have to worry. Like if you have a really great show, it might mean in the future more people sign up, but you don't. Your subscriber base is what you're actually appealing to. Whereas if you have Sky Atlantic, they don't have a subscriber base, so they have to work and focus their resources to create a great show.
because they have to
That
draw
then
people in.
increases their ratings.
Whereas Netflix already has the people.
Exactly. So Netflix producing a good show for them is going to be a potential win or a potential loss if you have people unsubscribing. But I imagine less people unsubscribe because there's poor shows than subscribe because of great ones. Like, you only need to, like, if Game of Thrones on HBO, how many people must have subscribed to HBO just for the sheer fact of Game of Thrones being on their satellite channel? But probably thousands or hundreds of thousands. So you can kind of imagine where they're going, and they know how much money they've got to spend. So.
And if you make enough shows, you can have like your friend go, "Oh yeah, have you heard of that show on Netflix? It recommended it to me." Again, great business model. Don't know why I was like piping that out, as if I told them to do it.
So do you have a comparison? Do you know how many Amazon producing?
How many Amazon original shows?
Yeah, so Netflix is churning them out like Model T forwards.
Relevant. Let's take a look. I think Amazon do a lot of, like, they buy rights to a lot of movies. I think original shows nowhere near the number that Netflix do. I don't have a number up my sleeve.
I reckon you're more likely to hear of those shows as well.
Yeah.
Because you can, like I said, like resources, you can focus advertisement on stuff like that.
And the thing that Amazon's got is you can be on their shopping page and it will sneak into that homepage, but look at this TV show.
Yeah.
Look at this show. Their algorithms can be based on things that you've bought. You might like this show. Netflix kind of needs you to get the service to then start recommending stuff to you, but you can then recommend to your friends. I ended up getting on Netflix largely just because of the number of people who said, "Oh, it's easy," and they've been, word of mouth. Interestingly, Amazon are leaning, like you two were saying, into the more big budget kind of spectacle sort of side of entertainment and TV, kind of more like the Game of Thrones style of thing. We were saying a little bit last week, I don't know if you guys tuned in, but they bought the rights to Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Not like exclusive rights, but the rights to make a TV show based off of the books and Peter Jackson's films. I wanted to say Percy Jackson, but that's someone else.
That's the Greek mythology series.
Yeah, it's a very different beast.
We're going to rival Harry Potter. Oh, that went well. That went really well.
We're going to hang out in our camp in the woods. It's protected by a magic shield.
Protected by Pierce Brosnan, the Centaur.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Wow, okay. You're saying he didn't do a very good job, did he?
My favourite thing that I've seen about this Lord of the Rings thing is an NME article here, quoting Ian McKellen. They were talking about who would play Gandalf, and his response was just, "What do you mean another Gandalf?" He's like, "He's 7,000 years old, so I'm not too old." And I was like, yes, if he gets on board, that's it, I'm done. Yeah, I'm watching, I'm on that.
Yeah, well, we touched on this. I think it would be a disservice to him. Like Gabriel, I think, mentioned the fact that obviously Saruman would be an issue because you wouldn't have Christopher Lee to play him. But as a character, Gandalf is epitomised by Ian McKellen.
Andy Serkis as Gollum.
Of course. Yeah, I feel like Gollum hasn't aged that much. Andy Serkis could still play him.
In any CGI role where he has to wear a suit that's stuck to his skin.
Do you reckon Andy Serkis is a bit upset about the fact that he never actually appears in them? He just always has to be green screened in?
I reckon he loves it. I can't see you keep going back to doing it if you don't enjoy it.
Do you reckon he's a method actor?
For that kind of role, I think you have to be.
Yeah. Just prowls around his house. Well, it's really quite cool because we were talking about the type of storylines. I think it would be a good idea if they followed multiple storylines, because Gabriel was mentioning they're guaranteed 2 seasons.
So they've got to make a season out by 2019. That's the cut-off point. Otherwise, they lose the rights, and they're on board for 5 seasons. I think it's $500 million for each. It's crazy budget.
Now that's a series.
That's a
maddeningly budget. You would hear about it, and you would be like, if nothing else, you'd watch the first episode.
Yeah. Well, this is what I mean. When you hear about those kind of numbers, you hear articles talking about the people that could get involved in it. That draws me into a series. Hearing Netflix throwing 700 original series on this year, I'm like, probably not going to be great. But you whip out
billion in the first 2 seasons.
You whip out Lord of the Rings and some panoramic shots of some New Zealand skyline.
Yeah, I'm quite looking forward to seeing some more mountains. But no, it's pretty cool. I think they should. I think they should avoid. We mentioned that last week because I don't like the idea of them touching on the War of the Ring. But I quite like the idea of them like focusing on different stories within the pantheon and talking about like
the Witch King.
Well, that was one of Gabriel's favourites. Yeah, the Witch King. I think like the young story of Aragorn is a good idea as well. Like his
that's the enemy one. They reckon it could be something like that.
Yeah.
87 in the books.
Well, love interest, protagonist, antagonist, wars with Rohan, stuff like that. It's all really good stuff.
He's got an exciting life, one which I don't have. I'm not sure I'd be able to like live up to, but it sounds exciting. I'd love to witness that life.
Are you talking about Vigo or just Aragorn?
He's talking about me.
Oh.
Keep up, Dad.
Oh yeah, it's synonymous with Vigo, aren't you? But,
The laugh that launched 1,000 ships. Listen to him go.
So,
Jeez.
yeah, I don't know. Have you got any stories you'd like to see from Lord of the Rings?
Well, I mean, that is a question, isn't it? Do you know what? I think it'd be really boring, but kind of entertaining in the same way is Schmeagol back when he was Schmeagol as a hobbit. But I actually think it would be extremely boring. But I hope they kind of make something up that happened there, because otherwise it's just him gardening. Do you know what I mean? Like,
well, he's got his little friend. He was fishing out that one day, wasn't he?
you see what I mean?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that's episode 1. Like he's just fishing again, but this is why they need to do something with it. But I feel like it could be fun, like him being the hero of something before he becomes like that creature. That would be good.
Well, I tell you what though, it'd be quite interesting because if you think about that scene in Lord of the Rings where he's fishing with his friend, I think it's just friend or brother. I think is it. I don't know.
I'm not sure.
But the size of the fish they catch is huge. So basically, Robson Green's extreme fishing. So I mean, it's
It's a whole different side to the
Not
Hobbit
all.
existing.
like
Extreme Fishing, a Netflix original.
with Schmeagol. Like
That's what you can afford at 700 seasons a year.
Yeah, like pour $500 million into that.
This is why I don't write scripts.
Yeah,
That's the first thing that jumped to mind.
And the fact that you can't write.
Well,
That is bullet points, Daniel.
Well, no, yeah, it'd be a good idea. I think something.
would it?
No, I'm just trying to appease you. That's a terrible idea.
It really wouldn't be great.
Oh, like you get a team of good writers on that. I'm just saying.
And then come up with something else.
You got a series, my friend. And Andy Serkis doesn't have to wear his little costumes CGI anymore.
I just wouldn't want to see anything.
Pros. All I see is pros.
I just wouldn't want to see anything with the elves. I'm kind of a bit done with the elves. They're a bit too
Boring.
Well, there's nothing they ever lose at. I mean, if we saw Rivendell getting sacked by a horde of like orcs who were like,
What
justice.
about the Tale of Moria and how that got messed up?
I mentioned that.
Like with
Yeah.
Balrog.
Gabriel mentioned that about the time they dive too deep.
Who was the bad guy before Sauron? Morgoth.
Yeah.
There's another one.
Morgoth. But he had another name. His name was Morgoth after he was corrupted, but before he was corrupted, it was something else.
I just remember
we
that
had
one
like
with
a-
this line, the old Balrog.
We ended up having like a 5-season plan which kind of brought it all together.
Yeah, we talked about like Numenor and the Rise.
Because it was like you'd have
Melkor. Melkor was his original name.
like you'd follow Aragorn, obviously, from his start, from when the first city of men ended up getting sunk Atlantis style to founding of Gondor and stuff. Maybe every so often you'd hear bits about the time before the rings from various different people, and then you can have Sauron not as like the ultimate metal fan in his big old costume, but as like oh, I'm sneaky. As a character who
Wait, was
Can we just see that?
pre-Sauron?
yeah.
That's kind of been covered in the Shadow of War video games, that he was like an elven blacksmith and then crafted.
Yeah.
Got his mate to craft the One Ring, and then that's who becomes
he
the Wraith, isn't
He
it?
crafted the One Ring.
No, but this is what I'm saying. In the video games, it covers it this way: is that
I
he
see.
corrupts a blacksmith to craft the One Ring. He's like
Yeah.
the greatest elven blacksmith ever,
Yeah.
and then he
He-
becomes
he
a
what's
Wraith
his
and
name?
latches
He
onto
was-
a ranger.
I didn't.
Celebrimbor.
Yeah.
Very nice.
You knew his name.
I played the video games.
Right. Alright.
Yeah, that's
I
good
could
stuff.
be a whole audience who haven't played the games, or even audience who have. We might enjoy seeing it with $500 million behind it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, definitely. That's what I'm
And
saying. It's a
then
great story. Just,
There is.
You'd have that
yeah.
woven in. You'd follow him, his romance, his time up. Maybe he'll pop by Moria before it got sacked, or be involved in that as like an arc.
Yeah.
Shelob not as a spider, but
This
as
is-
a witch.
This is what I was going to talk about, because like a lot of the Silmarillion touches on like the younger gods like Tolkas and like the wrestlers and that, and there's some really, I don't know, when you read about them they sound a bit ridiculous, how like a Tolkas basically looks like a giant He-Man, doesn't use a weapon but is the strongest of the gods, and so he basically fights.
Does he throw lightning by any chance?
No, it's not Percy Jackson.
He throws punches.
He just throws epic punches, and yeah, he single-handedly he beats Melkor and Sauron and Shelob.
Wait, are you telling me that Tolkien may have been secretly an MMA fan?
Yeah, well, no, I just think this Tolkas is like a bit of a boss, but yeah, and then he's the one that imprisons Melkor, and then like how Melkor turns into Morgoth and becomes more disenfranchised and everything like that, and that's when the two trees go down and stuff. But Tolkas is a cool character.
Now imagine how they'd have to, film that and get that visually going.
Mm.
It would be MMA. I'm just saying, he'd either throw the sickest punch or some kind of wrestling trick.
How much?
Wrestling trick.
I get the impression you didn't spend a lot of time watching WWF when you were a kid, did you?
I mean, confirm or deny the presence of a WWF fan in this room tonight.
Wrestling trick. Here's Randy Orton doing his wrestling trick. RKO out of nowhere.
Apparently his time is now, and that's why you can't see him. John Cena, everybody.
So we've got a lot of options, yeah. So that would be great, though. I think that's pretty exciting. Is there any kind of date for that set?
Yeah, 2019 is like when they have to air it.
That seems like far away, but when you think about it, I suppose it's not that far. It's only next year.
You know how?
I know, but like whenever you hear about these shows like being a year or so away, it seems like a long time, and then you're like,
And then you work out the maths and
yeah,
all comes into perspective.
Then I count them on my fingers, and then I'm like, okay, that's not so bad.
That does sync up really well with when Game of Thrones is meant to finish. I think it's like Game of Thrones will finish, and then that same year, Lord of the Rings should air.
That kind of makes sense. I feel like if you're going to release a huge budget high fantasy, you don't want to do it.
Wouldn't you want like a year's grace so people get hungry?
Oh no, I think you wouldn't want to give it too long.
Yeah, because Game of Thrones ends. Then have you ever binged something, got to the end of it, and been like, it feels like there's something missing, and then you do that thing where you're like things that are like, and then it's like the thing that you've just watched, and then all of a sudden like that comes along, and then it's like, oh yeah, this thing now, like I'm here.
I remember watching The Expanse and then getting to the end of season 2 and being like, oh, what's like The Expanse? I'll just read the books.
Sort of did it with like crime films, and what Goodfellas, and I was like, oh, what else is there? And it was like, oh, The Departed.
Oh, you got
I was like,
loads
let's get
of
on
good
that.
ones.
Yeah, exactly. And then started like going through all of them.
Did you get onto
like,
The Sopranos?
I haven't yet, actually. That's because it's a series. I was going through films.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, you got a lot exciting times ahead.
I'm learning all kinds of new tricks.
So okay, so that's in 2019. So what else we got? We got Lord of the Rings. That's pretty cool.
Is that not cool enough?
Well, no, I'm just saying there's people
What
out there
else
that
we got?
might not be into Lord of the Rings.
Well.
I'm just speaking from a fact.
Factually not true. No, I'm just.
Statistics.
This is on the record, I'll have you know.
No, because I think I spoke last week about a few shows like Cortez that's been released, like the sort of adaptation from the 60s.
Yeah, so last week you were getting into Amazon original shows, and you were also getting to leave because you had to pick up your kids. But
yeah, I was in a bit of a rush, so it was a bit of a forced thing. But Cortez sounds really cool. So there was an original script made in like the 60s by a writer, and it was going to be made with like Kirk Douglas. It was going to be like a Ben-Hur, Charm-esque epic, but it didn't get made, and then it got picked up by Spielberg later on, in like the late 90s or early 2000s, and then it didn't get made, but he had adapted it. and it's finally been picked up now, and they've got Javier Bardem in the role of Cortez, and he's not like a Pizarro kind of Columbus evil. Well, he's probably not great, but he's not as bad. But he basically goes on this epic road trip through the Aztec Empire, like him and his little merit, and it's been picked up as like a mini series or like a 10-part series, and it sounds really good. Like they're putting a big budget into it. It'd be really good, almost as good as the Romanovs, which is another one that's coming up. Do you know the Romanovs?
Nope. Tell me, Dan, about the Romanovs.
Yeah, I thought you were a bit of an internet conspiracy theorist. I thought you'd know about the Romanovs.
Am I?
I don't know, you could be. You might hide it well. Do you know about the Romanovs? Have you ever heard of the Romanovs?
I think you're seeing yourself in others, Dan.
Maybe I am. I might be projecting here. Okay, so quick check. So the Romanovs is this line of secession that basically stems from the Russian royal family.
Oh, okay.
So when the Bolsheviks took over in Russia and they executed the entire Russian family, there's always
Rasputin.
Well,
is he going to be in there?
No, he was killed.
Damn it.
But
well, I'm out.
You've lost a viewer there.
Yeah, there's basically people that claimed to be like descendants or escaped family members or Russian who'd lived all over the world to try and claim the throne and the jewels and the wealth of Russia. And it's like 100 years old, and there's been so many of them. But there's been a few really famous people that have claimed, and none of them have been proven correct by DNA evidence and stuff like that. But so they're making a show, and they basically follow these people, and it sort of backtracks, and it's pretty cool. And it's kind of like part historical drama, part Louis Theroux, and it looks pretty good. It looks pretty good because you've got these like 90-year-old women who are like, yes, my name's Anastasia.
I can just kind of imagine now Louis Theroux walking with like a green screen background of like a recreation of like events.
Just Louis Theroux sitting next to like Trotsky. So
like
how long have you been doing this Bolshevik thing for?
Just a clear like CGI'd version.
Like Andy Serkis to play.
All of the characters. Claiming the jewels and the rings.
The only thing I'm really not excited about is that they've got Aaron Eckhart playing one of the roles. Do you know Aaron Eckhart?
No, go on, Dan.
Okay, so have you ever seen the film The Core?
I can do a little tap. I'm terrible with names, that's all that is.
Have you seen the film called The Core?
Nope.
You're probably not worse off for that.
Okay, yeah, I know who it is.
Yeah, he was in like Olympus Has Fallen or White House Down. One of them. They're like the same film released at the same time. But he's just a bit of a cardboard character. Aaron, if you're listening,
love your work.
You say that he was wasn't he in The Dark Knight as Harvey Dent?
He was. Yes,
that's where I recognise him from.
That would have been a much better reference. Why did I go with The Core?
Why did you go with Olympus Has Fallen?
It was alright. I don't know. I think because I saw it thinking it was our White House Down.
Oh yeah.
And then I felt bad because I felt like I'd been duped.
I knew I'd recognised him. Yeah, that was it. It was Harvey Dent.
Yeah, but and also if you've seen The Core, it's just one of those films that just.
I'm guessing that you have seen it, and it's really made an impact on you.
At this point, I would hazard that same guess.
It's just got the most bizarre plot I've ever heard of in history. The planet loses its ability to spin at the core, so they build a giant train made out of a mineral that they've just discovered that they couldn't obtain. And what do they call it? Unobtainium or something like that. I can't remember. It's just ridiculous. And yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. And there's a point where they're in this giant train in the Earth's core, and they're just like, we're not going to make it. It's like, no, you're in the middle of the Earth. Yeah. But anyway, Aaron, as I say, the rest of the stuff's great.
Did they go past on that train Brendan Fraser with his kids?
The Rock. See, The Rock would have been great in that. He would have picked that film up.
He would have loved it. Yeah. This is exactly what The Rock seems to be all about in film these days.
Yeah, playing The Rock.
Yeah.
The Rock is only The Rock.
Oh, but he's a lovely. He's a really nice.
Oh no, he's great.
Yeah.
Oh, have you met him?
No.
Oh, okay.
It sounded a lot like you and Dwayne were like, you know.
I feel like we've met, you know.
Yeah, because he plays himself in every film. So every film you see of him, you know a little bit more about The Rock.
Well, I don't. Yeah, well, yeah. I haven't seen The Fast and the Furious, so I can't speak for that. But yeah, most films he seems really nice. You know, what are you gonna do? Although I did see in there's a bit of a tangent, But so The Rock in like the latest Fast and the Furious film apparently is refusing to speak to Vin Diesel. So they've both made a point that whatever parts they play in the film, they can't in any way interact.
Did they have some kind of falling out?
I'm guessing they had some kind of like, I don't know, dressing room argument or like something going on. I don't know if it's related to like the Paul Walker situation or when he died.
Maybe.
But
well, I mean, that would have come out a while ago, sure, if it was about that, because when did he die? Paul Walker. That was that The Fate of the Furious?
I don't know. No, I think it was Fast and the Furious 7 because I remember at the end of the film. It's the only one I've seen other than like number 1. At the end of the film, there's a point where he's side by side with Paul Walker, like Vin Diesel in his car. And he's like, "I'll see you at the lights, Paul."
Well, yeah, that's
and there's
the
this
song.
cutaway shot, and they part ways in this sort of like very.
Yeah, that's the emotional song.
It was very.
Charlie Puth and Wiz.
It was
good tune.
Really emotional.
Yeah, well, I mean, I doubt you care too much when you haven't watched the series, but when you've watched all the films, that was quite a big moment.
Yeah, I mean,
no, I didn't think I care. Watched it. And
I
was
just
kinda
saw
like,
I just saw a moderate to petty criminal who's been done for auto. Just
wow. I thought I was bad. I knew it was from Fast and Furious when I watched the Goodbye Filthy Frank meme.
I just know. Obviously, it was an emotional point. It's just a very hard film to get emotional about because it's very.
Oh yeah, The Fate of the Furious was Charlize Theron, and she was like the bad guy in it, and she was all like tech savvy, and she stole Dom Toretto's kid.
See, I haven't seen that one.
Beautiful woman.
The Charlize Theron.
Yeah.
Oh right. Yeah.
no, Vin Diesel.
I haven't seen many of his films, so maybe he plays.
I do like Vin Diesel.
I get the feeling Vin Diesel plays Vin Diesel in all of his
Oh,
films
yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
And just like Dan with The Rock, I'm the same with Vin Diesel.
Oh really? So we picked.
He's
our
a great
sides.
guy.
We've picked our sides.
Yeah, this will come to a head at some point.
I'm gonna tell The Rock you've been talking smack about him.
Man, I wouldn't want to be there for that fight.
It'd be a hearty debate at best.
Indeed. Yeah, sorry. So probably moving on before we get our sponsors in trouble.
No,
Our sponsors.
I thought he was your
The
friend.
hand cream in the
No,
room.
we've got the Squarespace kit kicking.
I thought you were going to imply that Twain was your sponsor for a minute.
I would love it if Twain sponsored me. That'd be amazing. To be sponsored by The Rock.
I follow him on Instagram. Does that count?
Yeah, that's exactly on par.
Is he a regular Instagrammer?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Is that him and Kevin Hart on
Not
Instagram? They always do like the videos with each other.
They
and
do
each
a
other's,
lot,
don't they?
yeah. But yeah, he posts like every hour on the hour. It's amazing.
Every hour?
It feels like it.
Did you just say he doesn't post a lot, and then you were like, oh well, on the hour every hour?
No, like you said, does he post a lot? I was like, oh my gosh, yes.
Oh, okay.
He's obviously gearing up to run for president.
Well, I mean, you think so. All his appearances, his many videos of him pumping iron, hanging out with fans, hanging out with Kevin Johnson, promoting his films. You know, social media is something that he is about.
I feel bad now because I've said that I'm aiming for him to become my sponsor, but I don't even follow on Instagram.
Well, you can change that today.
Yeah, I obviously should. Yeah, so anyway, moving on from The Rock, which is a sad thing. But I wanted to talk about, we're talking about like writers and scripts and stuff, so I wanted to briefly touch on people that you sort of followed as a writer. So, you guys both went to university.
No.
Mm-hmm.
I lie.
I was going to say,
Oh dear.
we should have done our background checks.
He got us.
Little does Amazon know.
So, I remember being in my first year and my one of the guys that was on my floor was like, oh, we're going to go along and see this this film. And I was like, oh, what film is it? It was like A Scanner Darkly. And I was like, I've never heard of it. And he was like, oh, it's quite an artsy film.
Is that the rotoscopy one? Rotoscope.
Rotoscope.
So
You would know.
I've obviously remember the film. I'm guessing you mean like in the way it's sort of filmed.
yeah, visually it's animated, but as if it was like all traced from photographs.
Yeah. It's I didn't know that was
Rotoscope.
That's what rotoscope. Oh. Wow.
If you've ever seen the video to Aha's absolute banger "Take on Me,"
I can't say I have. But
Get out.
I will now.
I'll switch off the mic and we'll take 5, and you're gonna watch that video.
Okay.
All right,
Get out.
I am pausing this.
Different question.
Apparently when he does it with a smile.
You'll never know, listeners. I'm so angry right now.
Okay, yeah, well, I didn't know it was rotoscope, but okay, rotoscope. Yeah, so anyway, we went to watch it, and I was like, that's pretty different. It's amazing. It was a really good film. But I wasn't kind of expecting to see Keanu Reeves in it, which was kind of threw me. Because a lot of the artsy sort of university films you get roped into are usually like silent films or by actors you've never heard of. And, it was really good. It was very bizarre. But have you seen it?
No. I saw loads of trailers when I was like a kid.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I'm too young. And then it's been off my radar. But
Yeah.
the word rotoscope hasn't since that fateful day.
You withheld that knowledge.
That's alright. I don't play all my cards.
Well, I mean, it's one of Philip K. Dick's best. Well, I'd say one of his best, but I mean, he's got loads of them. He Blade Runner, Total Recall, Minority Report.
True.
I don't know what you feel about Minority Report. I mean,
I quite liked it as a film.
yeah, it's a pretty good film. I mean, especially when you think about like a lot of the tech that is displayed on it 10, 15 years later is now real, other than the swipey screens. But you can probably find those in like Apple or something. But he's got a huge sort of list. But him and Paul Verhoeven, one of the two sort of people I followed. Did you guys have any ones you kind of followed?
Didn't really.
I don't know if you've got any writers that sort of. I don't know, maybe Stephen King.
Definitely not.
Not Stephen King, or just not writers.
Just not writers in general.
No?
Yeah. Just not an interest area for me, Dan, I'm afraid.
Well, it's going to be a short.
That's what people who support The Rock do.
They read. I think I read a bit of Philip K. Dick when I was at uni. I think doing a lot of academic reading put me off reading for pleasure a bit at the time as well.
Mm-hmm.
Got into anime instead, which is like reading plus.
Reading
Books plus.
Do they do like anime comics that you can colour them in as you go?
You know,
I usually buy one for Gabe.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's what I was actually thinking. It might keep him busy.
You know what cracks me up? Most manga series are in black and white, so you could colour them in.
Yeah, I mean, that seems to make sense. Because like, usually people I find that really like anime, I'm not trying to stereotype it.
You are, okay, stereotyping warning.
But they are usually quite artistic, or they quite like sort of, I can just imagine them enjoying colouring them in as well.
Gabe?
Yeah, what do you feel?
As an anime lover?
If I presented you with a colouring in anime book, would you consider that a good present?
I feel the weight of the world on my shoulders, but yeah.
The weight of the anime community.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I hate to betray the fam, but yeah, I'd colour it in. I love colouring in.
I mean, art degree, so we are kind of,
I'm
a little bit biased.
I'm kind of knowing my audience.
You're on my side, therefore the stereotype is real.
But tick next to that box.
Investigative journalism.
Yeah.
Vin Diesel wouldn't cover it.
Damn right he wouldn't. And for that he has my respect.
So yeah, I think I was quite into George R.R. Martin at the end of uni, but funnily enough, alright, call me out for being a hipster or an idiot, or both, not mutually exclusive.
Can't confirm.
Yeah.
Nice. But yeah, I didn't read as much of Game of Thrones. I think I was intimidated by how big they were, and I wanted short stories.
That is quite interesting.
So I ended up really getting into all of his shorter works. And they're pretty good.
I remember, we talked about you talking referring to Haviland Tough.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he did a series, again, context is a beautiful thing. He did a series of like short stories based off of this space merchant who comes across essentially Noah's Ark in space.
Yeah.
Through being unpleasantly honest and also a lot smarter than he lets on, which is a weird combination, but it kind of works. He gets the ship and then proceeds to just go around the galaxy doing basically odd jobs / quests to pay off his mortgage for fixing the ship.
Yeah.
And then becomes God.
Wait, so what's this called again? Haviland?
It's
called
really,
Tough Voyaging.
It's called TUF.
TUF. It's fantastic.
Gabriel painted a pretty accurate portrait. It's basically like if a trucker came across 30 kilometre long biological weapon in space. He could clone any animal he wants, genetically engineer anything he wants, and then just came into possession of it and was like, you know, I'm just going to go do some stuff.
I'm going to have fun with this.
There's a recurring theme. There's multiple different novella.
I still think, okay, I want to put this out there, especially as the open call for script submissions is now over on Amazon. This should be a film or a short TV series, because it would be flipping great.
I don't even think
it's one of the few things, again, maybe unpopular opinion, but George R. R. Martin is not so great at ending big things, because once it gets big, it's hard to get small, but it ends great. It's got themes. I'm doing a swish movement with my arm.
He's for radio listeners, he's very animated right now.
Yeah, it's like I feel like a GIF.
But yeah, no, you're right. Like, I think even more than that, I think a series of films. I mean, when you consider a lot of films that get made into trilogies or more,
it's relevant.
It's a good series. Like, you have there's 3 of the books talk about his arrival to this planet called Sutherland.
Okay, you say books. Just to be clear, it's like 60-page short stories. But
No. Some of them are longer. Some of them are like 200-300 pages. Some of them are like standalone books.
No. I've got this on my shelf at home.
Yeah.
The full collection. They are not individual 200-page stories.
No, I know.
Because I would not have read them.
Well, okay, I'm just saying there's some that are longer.
Gabe, don't throw the chair at Dan.
Yeah. What's that about?
Chair throwing noises.
How am I going to walk now with a broken leg?
Okay, well,
I'd claim on that.
Fights aside, what was your point, Dan?
Well, yeah, no. So he goes to this place called Sutherland, and it's this planet that's basically an Earth analogy. It's Earth in a couple of hundred years.
Represent.
But it George R. R. Martin does a good job of basically changing certain aspects. But the whole point is that the planet's massively overpopulated, and they've run out of food, and everyone's on a very strict budget, and there's this massive crisis because they've got a religious doctrine that basically says they're not allowed to have any kind of birth control or any kind of sterilization.
This is hilarious.
Or any kind of control over population as part of their religion, but
the reasoning is beautiful.
It's growing at such a rate that they can't stop it. So he arrives and he's got this massive seed ship, and he's like, oh, you know what? I can just magic up some amazing animals that will feed you, and you don't have to worry. And they're like, fantastic. Everything's sorted. He goes away and he comes back and I didn't quite make, we just ate them all. and it's even worse now. We've got 2 years, and then we're gonna be going down. And he's like, okay, wait. Maybe I can do this. And he recolonizes planets and says, okay, you can't eat meat anymore. You've just got to live off a black sunflower, and if you do that, maybe you'll survive.
But every time he's also learn birth control. And the funniest thing is, the whole religion is if we have enough generations, we'll give birth to someone smart enough to solve all our problems.
It's basically it. And but at the same
if you have enough kids, one of them will be the guy who makes it all right.
One of them will grow up and go away to Hollywood and pay for the mortgage.
But it's this quite funny story, and it mirrors humanity, because you've got these group there's a group of the society that understand that they're going down the toilet and they need to change it, but they recognise that most of the planet won't accept it. And then you've got Tough, who's not necessarily insightful, but he's just got amazing opportunities in terms of the ship he's in, what he can do. And then you've got the other planets that are massively inferior in terms of numbers and are really scared about this planet taking over because they need to expand. And it's quite a good analogy for the way sort of humans work. And then in the end, Tough basically...
Don't.
No, I'm not.
Spoilers.
I'm not going to spoil it. Don't worry.
It was the remix that come out. Don't.
Now available on iTunes.
We're gonna get that remix for the intro. But at the end, basically, there's some choices that have to be made, and it also contrasts in terms of the way Tough changes in terms of the way he views things. He almost feels like he's becoming a god. And that's quite an interesting take on his personality as well. But really good books. Definitely go and read them.
So his short stories, which, are short, so they are easier to get through and digest, and then wax lyrical about. So that was, as a uni student, that was what I was into.
So if you want to pick one of those up, it's only 200, 300 pages per story.
Yeah.
We'll reconvene with the official page number next week.
Yeah, but there's other books that are really good as well. He's got, there's one called like The Grey. A lot of his themes talk about like hive mind-esque fungusy things. So a lot of the books talk about like
the flood.
Yeah, basically, pretty much exactly like the flood from Halo. Yeah, like this like fungal spores that have hive minds take over other animals, control people, and he revisits the same themes a lot. But usually like human ecological problems, invasions of fungal stuff.
It's interesting you say that. I quite liked his love stories.
Which ones?
So he had one which was called like The Second Kind of Loneliness. Maybe less a love story, more a story about just being lonely, which was quite good, quite bittersweet.
Mm-hmm.
He had maybe love stories was the wrong word. Story, I guess, very personal stories I thought were always quite good. So he had one about like the end of the world and like these freaks, physically horrible to look at, but they could go back in time and possess the minds of like people in historical periods. And so they were like, oh, we send them back and they change the course of history. The world won't be so messed up for now.
Yeah.
And like all but one of them have completely failed. And like this one is sort of the night before he could change history. Everyone's throwing a party and there's like one woman who, okay, spoilers, I'm not as hyped about this one as this one.
I can tell the remix really didn't get the flow there.
It's sort of like the crux of the story is kind of what emotionally hits me the most was sort of, obviously he was sort of valued and like loved in this reality, as messed up as it was. Well, maybe loved was the wrong word. People valued it, but he could never form relationships because he was physically horrific to look at. And if he goes back in time, he possesses the mind of this really quite handsome general who's doing quite well for himself.
Mm-hmm.
Now he could either fix the timeline so all the horrible stuff doesn't happen, or he could just stay possessing the mind and then live a life knowing how history is going to pan out and Back to the Future too. And it's sort of like the emotional beats of that hit and sort of a difficult situation and the fact that he did take the easy choice. I thought that was quite a good story. As was Sand Kings.
Sand Kings was good. Yeah.
A story about a guy who gets some super duper ants who stuff goes wrong with the super duper ants because they're super duper.
Book club and not going to be happy with you two.
He's not even a part of the club.
No, I'm not. I was expelled. Expelled from the book club.
He read too much.
On a random point, this just comes to mind. There's actually, I've just realised that the X-Files, when it was first released, one of their first episodes was called Sand Kings, and it actually, thinking about it, it was exactly the same plot of George R. R. Martin's books. So obviously they must have paid homage to him in that way.
Great show that.
Yeah, but he's got a lot of great books. Night Flyers is really good, and obviously I don't know if you've read the Duncan and Egg stuff. I don't want to get focused on George R. R. Martin, but
I feel like we're going to have to like put a link to his page on Amazon at the end of this.
The Duncan Egg novels are really good. Like the sort of like the.
What are Dunking Eggs?
Have you not heard of Duncan Egg?
Oh no, I've read them, but obviously not everyone listening will.
Oh, okay,
I mean, you can contradict me, listeners, by all means.
So a lot of people are quite upset with him because the Duncan Egg short stories are basically the reason that he didn't finish the seventh book until he was writing it for 7 years, because he sort of changed his focus and started writing the short stories that predate the modern Game of Thrones story about a guy called Duncan the Tall and Aegon the Fifth, who existed 100 years before. So it was all backstory to Game of Thrones, but it was stuff that he was quite interested in. And they're all standalone books that kind of tie in every now and again, but they're their own little short story. And they're pretty good. I don't want to spoil them for anyone, but they're pretty good. I
just love you two talk to the microphone like it's sentient whenever you're
tell me, is it not?
Okay. Contradict me. It's like just staring at it. He's going to have a conversation back.
I don't want to offend our listeners, but I feel like you're belittling them a little bit.
Alright guys, microphone here. No, it's just funny that it's like you have this conversation with the microphone.
Yeah, I suppose I might be expecting a response a little bit after the fact, really.
Yeah. It's the anticipation in your eyes.
I'm so glad that this isn't held.
Yeah. So, but yeah, they're pretty good. Must read.
Better dunk an egg.
Better dunk an egg, yeah. With the Reagan ones.
Do you reckon, like, is there ever a point where a creator is beholden to their audience?
I would say he probably... No!
There, see, loaded question. Points.
Yeah.
I think you have a style and then people latch onto that style.
Yeah.
And then I feel like it depends on the person at that point. Does, like, if, like, say someone was creative, they felt like, oh, hey, I kind of want to mix it up. But then obviously they have that moment of, if I mix it up, I'm changing what's working. And then I think it's that moment. It's that moment of, do I continue what I'm doing because I've been successful doing it?
Yeah.
So, and I know it's safe. Or do they think, oh, I want to, you know, move out into these other
You
directions?
kind of
And
transfer
is
the
a-
power, don't you?
And also, I suppose, he started something, is he going to finish it? And I think because of the now almost ridiculous level of love that the books and TV show have garnered, yeah, a lot of people, I suppose, feel entitled to a conclusion from him. But what gets me right...
You won't have his conclusion.
Well, if he dies...
No, you'll have his conclusion. You're talking about Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, you'll have his conclusion.
He's already
You just
sort of
won't
laid
have
it out,
his
yeah.
how to get there.
Yeah.
His how to get there through the books, I think, is likely to be different.
Yeah.
But he, as far as I can recall from articles that came out, gave his conclusion or where he felt it would always end
In case...
to the writers.
Okay.
So the from the end of one of the seasons where something big happens for the sake of non-spoilership,
Mhm.
that's sort of where the books ended, and people who know what I'm talking about will know.
Well, it
the
started,
period I'm on
it started
about.
diverging before then.
Yeah,
but,
a little
yeah.
And then from there till the end will basically be that's the how they got to the end, and that's where the differences will appear, if any. I don't know whether he'll just be like, oh, that was good, I'll write that, but in more detail.
I suppose it was probably quite refreshing for him in a way. Because obviously as a book, he's got so many different characters and he's got so much backstory. But in obviously a show, you can't have that level. I mean, Game of Thrones has already got one of the biggest casts of any program ever made, so you can't have any more. And a lot of people still get upset they miss out like a lot of important characters and a lot of important plot lines.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that probably make a YouTube career out of the fact that they point out the differences. So. It's his writing, it's his convoluted political drama that he's able to put into that mix. That's what's you're missing in the show.
Yeah. My question was more of, are the publishers not on his case? Because that was the interesting thing, was it a book by book deal that they went into with him, or was it sort of you have to get X amount of books written and then he renegotiated?
I think it's reached a point where he is the one that decides. Like if he was a lesser known author and maybe there wasn't so much demand, but he's kind of pushed back and made a point of the fact that these are my writings.
Yeah.
Yes, I understand there's a huge fandom. Yes, I understand that this is something that's really wanted, but this is my choice. It's his life. I mean, there's a lot of people that seem to treat him like it's his job.
Yeah.
To produce good writing that will turn into a good show to entertain them.
But that's not how novel writing works.
Well, yeah, the show's taken over
Yeah.
in that respect because it has grown a massive audience and blown it way out of what it was for the books.
Well, there was that story, wasn't there, that people were like writing to him, telling him to hurry up because in case he dies and they don't get to hear the book. And it's like, okay, you've got a very jaunted view on this right now. It's a very strange. I can see that they're so engrossed that they don't understand that.
Now imagine this with kids in Harry Potter.
What?
No, I'm just kind of like trying to think of a similar point.
What if JK got letters saying, I'm 5, I've read the first one, finish it now, don't die, please, thanks, goodbye.
I mean,
XO.
True. Can't forget the vital XO. But there was a period after the 4th one where I don't think it got to that level of fever, probably again because of the films hadn't really gotten out as much, but there was a period I remember where there was a fair gap between the 4th and the 5th one, and it wasn't.
Oh, you mean the 4th book and the 5th book of Harry Potter?
Yeah, of Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And sort of there was a huge excitement when she started writing it again, but I was sort of wondering is there ever and I think you're right, there from a creative output viewpoint there shouldn't be when you're making something. there shouldn't ever really be a point where, as an audience who simply like buy the book or watch the show, you as a fandom don't then become basically saying how it should be.
It's a hard line to walk, because obviously the goal of any kind of creative content like that is to create, you know, this kind of backstory, to create the lore, to create the appeal that gathers this kind of crowd. But at the
and
same
also
point, that crowd
surprise
is extremely powerful on the author, but that's going to inhibit your creativity.
It could do
massively.
Running this back round to an article I read from quartzy.qz.com.
What?
All of my websites that I'm referencing today are in
Is
fact
this about the screen time for each character in Game of Thrones by any chance?
No, funnily enough.
I thought that's where you were going to go
Are
back.
you also a regular of Quartzy?
No, I just thought that's where he was going to go back.
Did you have such an article up?
I had that from earlier, but we moved on, so I left it.
To get on the Quartz train.
But
I just typed in screen time power actor, enter.
nice. But they wrote an article about the nature of fandom and how it can sometimes be a curse as well, and obviously a blessing to have that many people excited about a show.
Yeah.
Looking at Westworld, which is another HBO show which is kind of blowing up at the moment, the makers of this show posted on Reddit, do you want us to basically give you the entire plot of the show, of the next season? If enough people say yes, we'll post a video, 22-minute video giving you the entire plot, season 2 of Westworld, before the show, because you asked for it. It was a Rickroll joke, sorry to jump to the punchline.
Yeah.
But I think the question it poses...
Do you know the what was the response?
Yeah, I was about to say, is it like a straw poll where you have like a measurement of the...
Because I can
yes versus no.
I can imagine like it being a bit of a split.
Yeah, I think it would be a bit.
I feel like this would kind of go the same way that when you ask people, would you rather take a plaster off slowly or just rip it off?
Yeah.
Like short, long.
I'd say no.
Term.
Like a 22-minute video summarising the next season. I wouldn't get the fulfilment out of that. Like I like the grind through the series.
You want to hear the story.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to hear
You don't want to read the Spark Notes beforehand, but it's interesting the fact that there was a huge earnest debate that immediately blew up. I mean, the actual video they posted was 22 minutes of a dog at a piano, which
nice.
Whether or not that actually is going to end up summarising the shows in some horribly complex way or not, I don't know. I'm not a master of the Rube Goldberg machine, but
maybe it's an existential question.
The idea of fans having that much control, even if only implicitly, I think through social media and the way that you were saying Netflix doesn't need to care. They don't care what their ratings are. They don't publish their ratings as long as they get people signing up.
Well, they don't need to.
Jobs are good, and
yeah.
I think the only times they'll flaunt ratings are if they basically
smash it.
Yeah, and they can rub it in the face of like the cinema industry. #bright.
Do you remember when they released the Cloverfield Paradox after the Super Bowl? So they managed to get the Cloverfield Paradox for like 50 million, and so they released it on the day of the day after the Super Bowl, and it was like one of the highest rated films on Netflix. And they created this like build up to it and like just released it there, and it was a massive success for them. From a franchise that arguably wasn't huge.
I love the original Cloverfield film.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying
it's not great, but it's got one of my favourite lines. There are other things coming off of it also terrible. It was said with such earnest and beautiful.
Stop shaking the camera.
Have you seen the segment 10 Cloverfield Lane?
No, I haven't, and I feel like wasn't that some kind of bit of a tease because it wasn't really the same thing.
No, it is, but it's
It's not a giant monster movie with terrible CGI and handheld cameras.
Again, it is, but it's about the world of it. So it's like John Candy plays like a prepper, like a nuclear prepper in America. So he's got his like little basement, and like, so all you know is that there's something going on outside, and it's from the viewpoint of this woman who's been brought down to this basement by the John Candy, and he's like, you can't go outside, and she's obviously pretty disbelieving. She's like, you're a weirdo, like there's
clearly nothing going on.
There's clearly, but then like I'm not going to spoil it, over the course of the film things happen.
Is there something going on outside, or is that spoilers enough?
In space Gabriel, no one can hear you scream.
Yeah, but can
I
they
mean, that
watch?
was an alien.
That was a threat.
Yeah.
Important
Down in
question.
his spaceship in the car park.
Important question. In space, can they see me dream?
Can they see you dream?
Yeah,
Well,
of
not if
memes.
they're more than like 4 or 5 kilometers away.
Aw.
You're too small.
Can they
See
watch
that
me meme?
T-shirt of Doge from space?
Yeah, you're gonna see that.
Fantastic t-shirt. I wore this to my job interview, and I think that's what landed me the job.
Game has job.
Many works, so salary. Much Amazon. Wow.
This is my final podcast.
This is like undiluted Gabriel.
It really is.
The absolute rage he had at not being called iconic earlier has come back to light.
Oh dear.
You've been quite laconic today, I would say, if anything.
Wait, what's... Alright, give me an Essex word that means the same thing that I can understand.
So okay, I can't give you an Essex word, but have you seen the film 300?
I have.
There you go, the way they act.
What's wrong with that?
Well,
Did they beat the Persians?
no, just like the
No, they didn't, Dan.
What, you mean in real life?
In the film. The Zack Snyder documentary film.
I mean,
Yeah.
Michael Fassbender was in it, so what more do you want?
Some kind of historical accuracy, I mean.
But that's not the point of the film. Do you think about that when you watch, like, I don't know, Game of Thrones?
I was going to say.
No, but
I was
that's
going
a
to say
fictional.
Gladiator.
300 wasn't made under the guise of this is real, clearly.
It wasn't the Louis Theroux vermin hospital.
Well, Louis Theroux in that film just would have made some changes. Well, that's
Could you imagine Louis Theroux in 300?
so
Picture it for a minute.
What, just him over the front of it, like, and the Brady 300 stood here at this cow mouth.
if Luther is in that film, you know he's going to the what are the name of the weirdos on the mountain in the temple?
Oh, the like oracle
Ephors or
peoples.
something. Ephors. He's walking up that path going.
God.
So how long have you been an Ephor?
God.
Yeah, we just basically take all their gold and then we say, yeah, you got to walk. All right, okay, so yeah. Do you talk to your parents? I mean,
I love that we're all sitting here and visually imagining this. And we can all kind of see it.
Yeah,
We can all
it's
kind of see
weird.
Louis Theroux in 300.
it's the Carnea, Louis.
See, that's my point, though, right? You watch that, I think that's historically...
No, I'm
Historically
being-
inaccurate.
I'm exaggerating. I don't think it's historically accurate, and I don't expect it to be. But I'm just.
Lotor is as well. Have you ever been to the middle of the earth?
What is?
Lotor, Lord of the Rings.
Wow, I've never heard someone.
That's
say,
the abbreviation.
I know, but I've never heard someone speak that language.
That's because he's a rock man and you're a Vin Diesel.
Yeah, that's what
No, that's probably what it is.
This is going to probably come back
Vin.
to haunt us later in the show. There's going to be
Vin
an
boy.
episode where they actually come in and we're going to have to explain all of this.
I don't know. Maybe not.
Yeah,
I can ask questions about Triple X. You can ask questions about WWF.
he's been more than WWF. Come on.
Yeah, but
Try to talk down.
no one.
He did like Geostorm,
The Tooth Fairy.
the Tooth Fairy, Jumanji, the new one. That looks quite good.
Does it?
I haven't seen it, but
I love how he's bigging up his man
Don't,
for
don't
stuff he
hide your
hasn't even seen.
bias.
what's Vin Diesel in The Pacifier?
Triple X.
I feel like this
Triple
is the
X.
point.
That's 3 films because triple. It counts.
I remember
He
that
was
came
so
out-
good they didn't even bring him for the sequel. They got Ice Cube in.
Exactly. I remember Triple X came out. They were like, "It's the new James Bond." That's why there wasn't another one for like 10 years, and then they got Ice Cube in.
Oh, do you know what? The American James Bond actually would be pretty cool. You know the guy who always hangs around with Felix. Get a little
The guy who
spin off.
hangs around with Felix.
Bond, James Bond.
Yeah.
The American.
Did you just do Bond?
You've got to work it in somehow.
Yeah.
The American guy, the covert agent, is like mate Felix.
Yeah.
You should do a spin off with him. That's what I would watch. I'd watch that series of Felix from
You
James
could
Bond.
call it. You could call it the Twisted Tale of Felix.
You could. There's someone out there paid a hell of a lot more than me that would come up with something a lot better than that.
Yeah.
That's true.
What's his first name?
The guy that plays Felix.
No, the actor. Not. Why did I say actor?
The guy
You
who
just
played
said
Felix.
the character.
What's
I don't
Felix's
know.
full
I thought it
name?
was just Felix. I've never heard him given it. So.
Oh wow.
I feel like there's got to be another name.
I tell you what, why don't you go ahead and rewatch those films and then come back to us?
I actually would.
Well, I could.
Bond films are great.
But that means you're going to have to sit through like Die Another Day.
Yeah,
and the world is not enough.
But that also means I get to hear all those classic tunes again.
Well, yeah, okay, you enjoy it.
I mean, we've got playlists for that. I could also tell you his name.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Felix Letter or Leiter, depending.
Oh, Leiter.
Yeah. Oh, now you know.
Well, no.
Oh, actually, yeah, now you say it.
I'm not. I'm in my 6 agent. I don't have like a.
Neither does he.
Nah, but I have got a search engine.
Do you not think Gabriel does have like a QS kind of?
I thought he was going to say Cube-esque head for a second. And I was going to say that's it, damn. The chair's really are coming out.
Where did that come from as well?
I can imagine you being like a kind of Q character in the modern Q mold. Yeah, I can see that.
Do you reckon?
I don't know. I doubt it.
I've been a bit of a techie quartermaster. Like,
In the same current attire.
Yeah, I need more Hawaiian shirts.
No, it's the pen hanging out the pocket
Yeah.
and the little like badge as well. Like that's what it is. Yeah.
If I have enough accessories to be cute, that's all you're saying.
And the meme top.
Yeah.
A modern Q would definitely be a meme.
And in every film, you just have a different T-shirt.
I mean, I wouldn't say no to that. Can I keep a wardrobe?
You didn't have to ask me. I mean, obviously, you set this up.
I thought you'd be the producer.
No, if you want me to
they
produce
get
it,
Dan in for it. Yeah.
He knows the names of all the characters. You just have to search them up.
yeah.
You'd have the Rock as Bond. Get him out.
What's your name? James Rock. No, we've been through this.
The name's Johnson. Dwayne Johnson.
Okay, take 28. Let's redo that one. Vin, can you come down? You need to move that fan.
They just get Vin as his stunt double in a car chase scene.
Vin Diesel's a stunt double for Dwayne Johnson.
You're telling me that wouldn't happen?
Well, no. Well, maybe it would, because I don't want to be in the same scene together. So maybe that somehow work. I don't know. But anyway, I think we've veered wildly away from whatever we were talking about.
I'm having a great time.
Yeah.
Having the times of our lives.
Yeah. So let's talk about video games. Let's bring some up from video games next week.
Could well do. And
those are my 3 things.
And
I will derail.
You could link Vin Diesel as a DM and his buff.
He's played D&D.
Yeah.
With Critical Role.
Vin Diesel's played D&D.
Yeah. This is why I like him more than The Rock.
The Rock might play D&D. I feel like The Rock is the kind of person who said, "Can you play D&D with me?"
Yeah, with his kids.
So you know that thing that we had written?
Oh, I know.
There was a few for
the new name of our show, essentially. I think that might have to be it. I think that might have to be the name of our show, which you will find out next week. And speaking of next week, what are we going to cover? Let's buy some bed covers.
I'll have a look into some video gaming stuff. There's
Yeah.
got to be something moving shape in there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, because you usually stay up quite late, don't you? You're a bit of a video gamer.
I'm a bit of a video gamer.
What's on the top of your list at the moment in terms of video games?
Top of my list at the
give
moment.
us a top 5 when you get home and you've had your beans on toast. And
my Thai green curry that I made. Thank you very much. It was smashing. Don't undersell me.
This guy is like a box factory amount he puts you into.
I'll just have a look. I'll have a look around and see what's coming up this year.
No, but I didn't know what you're playing right now. Is there any good
I've been going back through old ones because it's the period of nothing new comes out, like November, October sort of time. It's usually November, October is like everything's coming out.
Oh, okay.
Like because it comes out around then, so then that way they can maximise on profits at Christmas.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I
But
thought summer was always supposed to be quite a good time.
Summer's good for like your PC gamers because of the Steam bundle where they'll sell everything really cheap and they'll put like hundreds of games that like. Then people end up with like thousands upon thousands of games in their library but never play 90% of them.
That sounds like a streaming service I know about.
I've also got a question to ask you as well. We'll probably pick up on it quick, but I wanted to ask you. So I remember talking before to Gabriel about the whole idea of like Amazon setting up a rival service to Steam.
No, you didn't.
Buying Steam.
When did you say this?
Oh, this was a while back we were discussing.
I would have made notes.
Yeah, but it's quite an interesting concept because if you're going to have like a service like Steam, Amazon are a natural platform to incorporate something like that.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking in terms of Twitch right off the bat.
Yeah.
They've already got the amount of video games that get streamed daily on Twitch if they have their own service. directly link it to that would do them no end of favours.
Yeah.
But then you probably see a cut off of the streaming services with like Xbox and PlayStation at that point, because they'd be like, we've got our own thing.
Yeah.
So
True.
I don't know whether they would go with it though.
It's a fragile relationship. It depends on if, as streamers, you can still make the same amount of revenue just on Twitch. And then if, say, you did get cut off from PlayStation Network, from Xbox Live, and other rival groups, whether or not you'd be able to still comfortably do what you do on Twitch. Because there's already rumours that Twitch is not stealing, but a lot of content creators are leaving YouTube because they can't make much money through YouTube's ad revenue.
Going
The
down.
ad-
CPM
the
all of a sudden.
adpocalypse.
The adpocalypse.
Well,
PewDiePie's problem.
Basically it's harder to get money from adverts, and you get less money from adverts now, whereas Twitch doesn't work on that platform and is still quite stable in terms of what you get for what you produce.
It's because YouTube's broken in general. Like there's like neo-Nazi sort of videos that are like on there, and then they've got adverts on them because the algorithm and the systems and the AI they have in place aren't working well. But then you have something else that's actually pretty okay, like someone talking about suicide and sort of being a friend and being like, don't like do it, like here's this, and then the comments are all like, you saved my life and all this kind of thing. But it won't have adverts on that because it's a touchy subject.
Yeah. Well, because if
and advertisers might not want to be linked with that.
if you're Toys R Us,
Yeah, exactly.
and you're running adverts on YouTube, like you don't really want your advert.
I think it's fair enough, but I think it just shows the difference between like where they're at and where they need to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think there's a lot to be discussed there.
Yeah, I just it seems like
Really?
a natural port call for like a company like Amazon. Like naturally, it's especially because at some point, like the same technology that like a mobile phone incorporate cameras and video cameras and phones, computers will naturally absorb consoles. It will go the same way at some point. Maybe you'll have dedicated consoles in the future, but they'll become more of a rarity because computers become more and more powerful. So at some point, consoles will be reaching an end of the evolutionary tract.
Well,
They'll be reabsorbed into just general computing.
I really want to talk about this, but I'd have to do research first.
Yeah. Well, that sounds like a great point to make.
Well, I said video games, not computers and consoles.
I'm just trying to say.
It's putting you in another box.
So,
Luke.
Dan, what are you focusing on for next week?
What are you being sponsored by Dwayne The Rock Johnson to produce?
Digging up and renovating the garden. But that's not really a topic for
A
today.
lot of Rocks Johnsons in there.
Yeah, I found a lot of rocks. So we've been tearing up the garden all weekend. And I'm currently just finished building a rabbit hutch.
So is this genuinely a topic for next week?
What if the viewers
Or
are
is this
listening
just
and hear about my plans for turfing the garden?
I want
The
to
life
hear.
and trials of Dan Clark.
I want to hear more about Dan's garden next week.
You're welcome. I mean, it's hard because my partner, I told that I actually knew how to garden, and then obviously she was like, "Great, well then we'll do some gardening," and quickly found myself in the deep reeds.
Oh man, this was me with this entire office.
Yeah.
I said I knew how to do some pots, and like,
Well, yeah, but it's a bit deeper than that because I found myself within a 5 square meter batch of like 7 foot high reeds, and I was like, somehow I've got to not only cut these back but also dig them out.
haha, deeper. I like where you went with that.
4 hours later, I felt like the Rock trying to get 3% of the earth.
So you've been diving deep all week.
I've been diving deep.
Plus one for your leadership points bingo.
Oh dear.
But I'll tell you more about that next week.
Try and worm them in as a pun.
Yeah. I want to see if I can pitch a film.
You're gonna pitch a film.
Yeah, I'm going to make a pitch.
Okay, I'm good for that.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
I might watch something as well.
Really? Well, one of maybe Netflix's one of their 700 shows.
Shall we make that a thing? I watch a show from Netflix every week, not for the full season.
If you want to commit that time, I'm happy for you to commit that time.
Can we?
I'll probably-
I tell you what, can we pick the one you watch?
Oh.
That sounds.
Eventually get the viewership to vote.
Yeah, I think this is a good idea. I think we should pick the episode, like a series. You have to watch the first episode.
I'll commit to the first episode, or say the first hour if it's like a 25-minute show.
Oh, so if it's 25-minute show, you watch 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Okay, but if it's an hour show, you watch. Okay, so an hour of.
Yeah, I'll give it about 60 minutes.
And we can pick which one you watch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, as long as it's something I can discuss on this show.
You can discuss it.
Hemlock Grove.
Wait.
Based on Brian McGreevy's novel, of the same name. What are you doing? Stop scrolling.
Just have a look at
The
this.
horror thriller series examines the strange happenings in Hemlock Grove, a fictional town in Pennsylvania. Very nice there.
Bill Skarsgård.
Yep.
Oh, great.
I recognise the name from something.
I absolutely loved Stephen King's It.
So yeah.
You want to go with this one?
Is that what we're going with?
What's the other ones? Let's have a look.
Wait, come on now. We're trying to wrap up the show here, Dan. We can't browse through every 700 of Netflix's original shows.
Well, we can look at a few of them.
There
Oh.
are quite a lot.
The first French original production for
No.
Netflix.
No.
I do
think
like reading
my
plots.
vote goes for Marseille. The French original production for Netflix. Marseille stars Gérard Depardieu as Robert Taylor, the long-serving mayor of Marseille, who enters into a war of succession with his former protege turned rival Lucas Bars.
Can we just draw back to the moment that I started reading that and you said no, and started reading it? like you'd chosen something completely different and just repeated the same sentence.
Just make that point.
No, I've got a better one. Marseille.
So, am I watching Marseille for next week?
Well, we'll have a chat. We'll have a chat.
No, we've
Marseille's
got to
a
decide
difficult
here.
one because the first French original production, I don't know how much. I tell you what, do it. Just see how it goes. Tell us how nice it looked.
Yeah, alright. I'll judge Netflix on its first French original production.
I mean, it's got Gérard Depardieu. I mean, how can you go wrong?
There are so many ways you can go wrong, and I will fill you in on if and how they went wrong next week.
You don't know who Gérard Depardieu is?
I'm over it.
He's the most French person in history.
Wow.
No, he is the most French person in history.
I can't edit out controversy, Dan.
No, it's not a controversy. He's like he was
I
in
butchered that.
The Three Musketeers a few years ago. He's been in a lot of films.
I mean,
I reckon he'd play a solid dwarf.
your eyes proper lit up there for a second, Luke.
Yeah, like I'm just thinking back to Lotto earlier. I reckon he could bang a proper good dwarf,
Well,
like Gloin.
as in like play the role, right?
Yeah.
There is a different set of lit up eyes over here.
I'm glad you cleared that up.
He can bang the role. That's what he meant.
We'll just
bang the
follow
roll.
Archer's
When I
style
say
of just
to-
whipping out phrasing every now and then.
Yeah.
All right, so
When are we bringing back freezing? Okay, guys. I think we should probably wrap up because I need to get home before before the sun dips below the sky.
I've been Luke.
You have been. I've also been Dan.
this feels so natural.
It does.
I always will be Gabriel. I don't know about these two jokers. But no, this has been Don't Tap the Table /bandwidth.
Didn't have a name at the start, but now it does.
No,
Yeah.
and it feels like it's come together in a very organic sense.
Because I've watched you tap the table for the whole session.
Don't
and then
tap the
bounce-
bandwidth.
Hey, you got to go for the double tap.